Oh, hey there. Haven't seen your face in a little while. Guess what? We're back. The collective sigh of, oh, not these guys again. But we are back here with the Ball Hawks podcast. It has been a hot damn minute since we've been on here, but season 2, Chris didn't even know that we were calling it season 2. We're calling this season 2, Chris, because I don't know. I heard other podcasts do like seasons of it. It sounded like a fun thing to do. We've been off long enough where we could call it season 2. So this is season 2 of the Ball Hawks podcast. Same two idiots. So don't expect any upgrades of people, or I mean, maybe we'll get some cool guests here. But
I heard Eminem was coming on tonight.
I saw that on the Twitter. He's coming, everybody.
The internet never lies, folks. The internet never
lies. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Where have you been for season 1? But we'll accept you for season 2. I am your host. You can see my Twitter there on our fancy graphics here. We are also live on the Dean Blundell Network. And if you would like to get in on this so awesome conversation, make sure you log into our Facebook page, our YouTube channel. That's the way you can comment. If you're just here to watch us idiots and you're on Twitter, awesome. You can watch the show. Just remember, you can't comment on Twitter until Restream figures it out. So, and we got our first comment. Look who's back. Our guy, Marquise.
Marquise.
Yeah. Good to be back. Good to see you on here joining us. My same co-host from season 1. You made the cut for season 2, bud. It's Chris Phillips.
Season 2, I'm here. Let's go. Happy to be back. Like Steve said, it's been a hot damn minute, but we decided to dust off the microphones, get ready. Just quick disclaimer, if anybody wants to join us for season 2, you weren't here for season 1, you got a quick drop down, give me 20 push-ups. This is a give and take relationship. So, if you want to get something, you got to give something. So quick drop down, give me 20. We'll wait. Don't worry.
While people are doing their push-ups, Chris, this would be a great time to tell them about your newfound hobby. This is season 2. This is an improved Chris Phillips. There's no more donut underneath your butt. I don't think you haven't shown me yet, but
except for the days after I do spin class. So I've decided it. I'm no longer young. I can no longer just sit around all winter and just get fat and show up to play lacrosse in the spring and expect to not hurt myself. So I decided that it's time to focus on my fitness, and I joined a gym. I've been going to spin class, which tell you what, guys, that is no joke. It's like I just said, you got to sit on a donut after you just do spin class because your ass hurts. It might be bruised. There's probably some chafing. It's not pretty. It's not pretty, guys. And then I did boot camp on the weekend, and I got my ass kicked. Turns out that I can just barely do 20 push-ups.
I love how we started. This is a new Chris. Like, things are going great, guys. It sucks. My ass hurts. I can't do push-ups. I've humbled myself essentially.
I wonder if I can. I can lift my arms all the way up today. I couldn't do that yesterday. So progress.
I can clean my armpits when I shower again. Yeah. Not being sore.
I was saying to one of my friends who works at the gym after boot camp on Saturday, like, they need to put a disclaimer on boot camp. Do not recommend operating heavy machinery after boot camp, because I could barely drive my car. It's like turning the wheel hurt.
You call your wife, hey, can you come pick me up? Oh my gosh, what happened? Did you get hurt? Was it your hip again, Chris? No, I'm just really sore and I can't turn a wheel that
Yeah.
has
No.
automatic
Yeah.
power
Hips
steering.
fine. Hips fine. I skipped the burpees. Don't worry. As I was saying, I no longer have the. It's not a physical thing. It's just I don't have the coordination to do a burpee anymore in my life. I'm 36, and that motion does not exist in my life anymore.
When was the last time you did a burpee? Like, when did that motion exist for you?
Like, it's probably been 20 years. Let's be real.
Because you said it as if like
if I'm being generous, maybe 15 years, maybe in my early 20s, I could have done a burpee, but like, yeah, it's been a while.
Oh, I think that.
But guess what? Season 2, guys, the songs are still here.
The songs,
but our boy Fitzmagic retired, so like that kind of sucks.
I know, but how good is he on the panel? Like, if we want to start with a little NFL stuff, that panel is a lot of fun to listen to with him, with Sherm, with Gonzalez. I really enjoy them.
I haven't listened to them very much.
Oh, really?
Usually, well, on third, like I don't get home from work till like 5:30, so I miss all the pregame stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then I get home and Nadine's got the kids at soccer. So it's like I get home, I run in the house and I turn on the oven and I start cooking dinner. So like the game's on, but I'm in the kitchen preparing dinner, not paying attention. And then the kids come home and you can't hear the TV once the kids are home, and then you're putting them to bed. And it's just, yeah. So I'm watching yeah, got my hands full, guys. I don't know what happened. My kids got older and all of a sudden life got harder.
Have kids, they said.
They are wrong. I don't know if I've ever told any of you guys, but my number one tip for parenting is don't do it. It's a trap.
It sounds so great, and it's so great in the good times, but yeah,
don't do it. It's a trap. I love saying that to people like after like when they tell me like, oh yeah, like my wife's pregnant. I'm like, oh man, you broke like rule 1 of parenting. What's that? Don't do it. Some people don't respond back after I say that.
And you can't take a joke, and you can't take a joke, so I'm gonna stir the pot a little more for you.
Yep.
Okay, let's jump into some NFL stuff here. We have a couple things on the agenda, but I feel like they're big things that we want to talk about, right?
If you lead off with Antonio Brown after saying there's big things to talk about.
Well, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. If you don't lead off with Antonio Brown when you say there's big things to talk about, you're doing it wrong.
I thought he was waving a baseball bat around the pool.
Why does he have a child's arm between his legs?
My favorite comment out of all of it was, I'm really happy they blurred it out until like what this was. So if you have been living under a rock, in which case, like I've been off hunting for the last 3 days and I still know what's going on. Antonio Brown, I don't know the context of this, but he essentially went Antonio Brown and decided to flash women at, was it just women? Like, do you know any more of the context? I just saw like
Antonio Brown decided to sexually harass some women in a pool in Dubai. And it's really what it comes down to.
That's so strange. Like,
there's another hot cookies be good. Hey, you're not wrong there. Cookies be good every day of the week.
I was having this conversation with someone, and someone to me said Subway cookies are not good. And I thought to myself, you have got to be kidding me, because Subway cookies are the bomb.
What is underrated? Cookies be good. Be saying that this is such an underrated podcast. Like I would like to know what Cookies be good favorite cookie is. What's your most underrated cookie?
Ooh,
Steve, Subway cookies. Like nothing touches them, because like I don't understand how they make them so like they're always just so perfect.
They gotta
And,
be
like,
undercooked. Just
right? I was just gonna say, like, are they slightly undercooked?
I think so.
What's the best one?
Oh, okay. So since we're all about food takes and hot takes and basically opening ourselves up to Twitter criticism, this is one of my guilty pleasures that I always get roasted for. And you already know where I'm going with this, don't you?
I think I might have the same answer. So let's see.
Gotta be oatmeal raisin.
Did we just become best friends?
Yup. You do karate in the garage.
Kim, what's number 2?
White chip macadamia nut.
Holy shit, Steve.
Did we actually come up with the same food take?
Yeah.
No, we didn't. Season 2, people.
Okay. Hold on.
This is our 60th episode of this podcast, and the first 59 we didn't agree on anything food related, and all it took was cookies be good to jump into the mentions. So we appreciate that.
Cookies be mending relationships.
We can continue on with season 2 of this, Chris.
All right, I have to ask, what's number 3?
I don't know.
I mean, you only get 2 with a meal, so like there really isn't a third. But like if you were to pick,
like if your kids had one and you wanted like a bite of that one, I would probably go M&Ms.
Jesus Christ.
I was gonna say chocolate chunk, and then I was like, no, because Easton really likes his M&Ms ones.
Those M&M ones are bomb.
Yeah, they are good, and I don't like M&Ms just in those cookies. So
no, you don't. That's right. We've discussed that.
Yeah.
Every iteration of M&Ms, Steve throws them all in the trash.
Yeah.
From regular all the way up to caramel, which like you're sleeping on those caramel M&Ms, bud.
Yeah. Well, this is a good sign. So
did you see RG3's tweet about Antonio Brown?
No, I missed it.
It was Antonio Brown showed more D this weekend than both the Seahawks and Lions combined.
No.
Yeah.
Well, what was Antonio Brown on Twitter said, like, if teams are looking, I'm still exposing D.
Yep. Yeah. And
like,
then he added the NFL Twitter account.
Yeah.
Apparently today, I didn't bother looking, but apparently on Instagram today, he posted a picture where he photoshopped Tom Brady out of the picture. So it's him and Giselle.
No way.
Yeah. Let's see if he's still got it up. I mean, the man has no shame, so I don't expect him to have deleted it. Yep, still there.
Oh,
can you see that?
That's so funny. He's quite the character, and he has been for a little while. But like on a more serious football note, every time he does something wild and crazy and shocking, the conversation of CTE comes up, and there's those in the camp. I'm not a neurologist, so I don't even know what to think. But there are a lot of people in the camp that think CTE is already playing a part in his daily life. Would you agree with that? Like, we're both not neurologists, but like, are you in that side of the conversation that yes, it's probably happening?
Vontae Burfict ruined that man's life. Like he's not been the same person ever since Burfict took his head off.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really sad to see. Like, he had a guy who's supremely talented. Like you said, get his head taken off, and then his play, you can't tell me it didn't suffer from that. He's still a high level athlete, but he was like the best of the best, and he was the clear cut number one receiver in the NFL for a long time there. And then obviously, like, his mental health, like, just imploded as fast as
something neurological is going on for sure. Like, whether it's just like long term post concussion, and he's like, I don't know, like, can you see maybe there's depression there, and this is how he's acting out? Like, I have no idea. Like you said, we're not neurologists, so I have no idea. But like, it's just like, he's surrounded himself with yes men. So it's like nobody's telling him like, hey, you're being an idiot. But But yeah,
But
something's going
there's
on
got to
there.
be
It's
some
scary to
people in his
see.
life that are like, no, you're actually going crazy here, dude. Like you got to stop this before you die or end up in jail, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that obviously leads us to probably the biggest storyline of the entire year. Um, I guess it's only been a week yesterday since the Dolphins were playing the Bills, and Tua gets tackled to the ground. His head bounces off the ground. He goes to get up. He gives like the
Oh, it's not
classic.
even been a week. That happened Thursday night.
No,
Oh
I'm
no,
sorry.
wait, sorry. You're thinking the initial injury.
The initial injury
Yeah.
happened. I think it was Sunday, right?
Yeah.
It was a Sunday game, and he kind of gets up and does that like shaking of the cobwebs kind of look, and his hands kind of go to his head, takes a couple steps, and his legs all give out completely. He barely catches himself and like shakes his head again. And um, I wasn't watching that game, and I think it was you that maybe threw that in our group chat with our boys from the PP1 podcast, and one of you said he's still in the game, and to me I was like, you have got to be kidding me that you were even allowed to play in that game. So that was the kicker, right? That was the initial like, what is going on? And then the whole world saw on Thursday Night Football, he gets the same kind of a hit, right? Like it wasn't a direct blow. It was one of the ones where his body is whipping, his head kind of bounces off the ground.
That one
And
on Thursday, I don't even know if his head hit that hard, but he whiplashed back really
yeah,
hard, and I think that's probably what caused the brain to push against his skull, is because like his neck whipped back really hard.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he hit his head that hard, but like it was
I think it hit kind
regardless.
of the side of it, but right, like so. I had the I guess ability to work with people from a local company here in Kelowna called Brain Trust, and they got these devices where you you practice movement with them to see like what the force is on your head, to see like where it is in terms of like a threshold for if you could get a concussion essentially. And you don't need any force. So whether his head bounces off the ground or like Chris said, it just has that whiplash effect, you can sustain a concussion easily. And so obviously there's big talks about like he was allowed back in the Sunday game and then he was allowed to play 4 days later. And it's one concussion's bad enough, but when you don't have the time for your body to recover, and there's a lot of evidence out there that suggests those first 48 hours after getting an initial concussion are absolutely critical to healing your brain. And this man was allowed to play football the day he still had a concussion. Um, the other thing with that was after the Sunday game, I think it was Tua as well, but head coach Mike McDaniel came out and said, "Oh, it wasn't actually a concussion. He was having some lower back injuries." And like, I can't believe there is somebody in this world that arrogant and that naive to try and pull the wool over the world's eyes. Like, we didn't just see this man lose his legs from underneath him because of a lower back injury.
Yeah.
And so then obviously the next conversation went to the NFL's independent neurologist checker, whatever his or her title is, when somebody's suspected of like potentially getting a concussion or has that hard impact, they check them out independently and either clear them or not clear them. And basically the Dolphins were like, well, they cleared them, so it's good. And I thought to myself, how low do you think of your players and how little do you care about them that you were like, well, as long as, Kevin Smith over here says that he's okay, he must be okay. So let's chuck him back in there. Like, there's just no care for saving an athlete from themselves.
And my understanding too is that doctor who is the one that's responsible for clearing the players is hired by the Players Association, because I actually saw, I think it was today or yesterday, that
Yes.
doctor's been fired.
Yes.
By the Players Association. So it's like, you're hired by the union to protect the players, like to not protect the teams and protect the team's financial interest. You're there for the players' interest, and you still cleared him.
Yeah, I think it was, obviously I was driving back from where I was hunting. I had some time to listen to podcasts. George Kittle came on the Rich Eisen podcast, and he was talking about it. And he was like, players, and I think people who didn't even play or have never played high level athletics, but have played athletics, know that you want to get back in the game. Like, players want to play. And when they're not thinking clearly and they just want to get back in, you have to save athletes from themselves. So I think I tweeted it out, that night. If we have learned anything, or if there can be some positives from this, I think starting to educate young athletes earlier on saving yourself. And when you can't save yourself, educating your teammates. Like, teammates need to stand up for their players, and against vested interest in teams, to save each other, so you don't have this. Like, we could have a dead football player there, or a brain dead football player there, or like, who's to say this isn't the concussion that essentially ends his career? I mean, the first ones that come to mind are like Paul Correa, Eric Lindros, in hockey, but they have lost their careers because we didn't know enough about concussions to save these players from themselves, and essentially, their careers were cut short. Tua is going for a huge contract.
I'm guilty of playing through concussions. I played through concussions until I had a wife and kids. And then my wife said, "No, the hell you're not."
Yeah.
She said, "You're not playing again until you get cleared, or you're going to the doctor, and the doctor's going to tell you how long you're not playing for." Like, but yeah, I mean, I did it for 30 years of my life. It's just got my bell rung. Just got my bell rung. No big deal. Just got my bell rung. But like, I remember a few years ago, one of the guys on my team was like puking in the bathroom. Like, he was messed up. And I sat him down and I said, "Take your pads off." He's like, "No, man, I'm good. I can play I think there was one period left. He's like, "No, man, like, I'm good. Like, I could play." Like, I'm like, "Dude, you have to go to work on Monday. Yeah. This isn't worth it. Take your goddamn pads off. You're not playing the rest of the game." "All right, fine."
Yeah.
It's just like, it's not worth it. And I am thankful that my wife has made me realize that like, when I do get a concussion, like, yeah, I'm like, pull myself out of the game. Like, sit out the next game, do what I have to do to make sure that I can still function for my kids.
Yeah. And like, that's obviously for somebody who, has a different job. But to me, there is no tool in your life more valuable than your brain. And so even if pro sports is your job, and you have to go to that job on Monday or whatever day it is, it's not worth your long-term health. And I think when we stop, and I don't know how much longer this is going to take, but when we stop this raw tough guy act of like you said, Chris, when we were growing up, it was like, "Oh, you got your bell rung, like you got some cobwebs, like just brush it off," kind of thing. When we stop that kind of like tough guy act about like playing through head injuries, it'll just make for a better. I think one of the lines I remember from this brain trust company was, you wouldn't play through a broken leg. Like, if your leg was snapped, they would cart you off the field. You wouldn't just walk off a broken leg, right?
Greg Jennings would like a word.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen that Madden clip, but
yes, I have seen it. But as a rule, you don't just walk off a broken leg or like a
only in video games.
Why do you do it with your head? Right? Like, At least my leg, I can have like, some sort of physical proof that my leg is healing and I know when to come back. The brain is still such a mystery that like there's no visible injury, so we should just go back out and play. And
And
like
that's exactly what it is.
we
Is
gotta
that
stop
is
that.
because you can't see it. You can't see the injury. You can't see the bruise. You can't see the blood. You can't see whatever the issue may be, and so it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meanwhile, you can't see out of one eye or whatever.
Right. And who knows if you're going to have like, long lasting effects. If you're a young person like Tua's in his mid 20s, what happens if he's our age in 10 years and he's still having those adverse effects? So it's never worth it. Don't be the macho person. If you have a teammate like Chris did for his teammate, sit him down, tell him, don't give them the option. You're not playing until you take the time away to get over a concussion. It is serious. Educate yourselves. The more you look into it, the more you research. And Ryan Hank, our buddy, just chimed in. I know he's done a lot of researching with concussion stuff himself. So the more you educate yourself, the more you will start to see how serious concussions really are. And hopefully you don't let people play through them. Hey, Ryan. He's very happy that Chris is still awake. I'm shocked that he's still awake too.
I am as well. Tomorrow might be a different story for Thanos, but we'll see.
You're
Late night podcasting, early morning spin class, late night podcasting. So we'll see. No promises for Thanos tomorrow. I might fall asleep.
What a trooper. As a reward, Christopher, I know you've been dying to talk about the Seahawks' massive shootout win in Motown against the Detroit Lions. I know our friend Andrew would love to hear these conversations and these comments about the game. How did the game go yesterday? I didn't watch it. I just finished watching the Ravens game. So what happened?
Yeah, so I actually didn't get to watch the Seahawks and Lions game live either. I spent the entire day at a soccer field yesterday. And then from the soccer field, we went to a friend's house for dinner. So I didn't get to watch the Seahawks game until about 8 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
It was my own version of Sunday Night Football in the Phillips household.
Okay.
Which
it was just like replay that you did?
I PVR'd it. So I was like,
oh, okay.
Yeah. And Nadine's like, really? You're going to watch a game that you already – I already knew the score. Like I was following along at the soccer field because I knew there was no way with me being at the soccer field and then going to a friend's house for dinner. I knew there was going to be no way for me to like avoid it entirely. No. So like, whatever, I'll just follow along and see how it's going type thing. Nadine's like, you're going to watch a game that you already know what happened. I'm like, well, yeah, because like I want to see what happened. And the Seahawks destroyed the Detroit Lions.
Strong word.
Hey, you know what? It's they won.
They put up 48 points. If this was the old Papa John's thing, we would have 48% off pizza this Monday.
Do you remember that?
It was so awesome.
That's hilarious. Nadine just brought that up like a few weeks ago. She goes, does that pizza place still do the Monday discounts for like the highest score? And I'm like, no, because Papa John's isn't the pizza sponsor of the NFL anymore.
Oh, I remember. I don't even remember who was playing, but we were working the old Jersey City, and I think it was me, Ted, and Kyle, and someone got a 61, and we were like, "Let's go! We are not bringing dinner tomorrow. Like we're
right
in."
Yeah,
60.
you're always hoping for that 50 burger at least one game a week.
Yeah, for sure. That's
Yeah, I mean the Seahawks went into Detroit, and I'm going to toot my own horn here from our other show. I said last week on our fantasy football podcast that helps no one. Start Geno Smith, and man, do I look like the smartest man alive for that. Geno had a great game. I think he put up like 32 fantasy points or something like that. He had 2 touchdowns, 320 passing yards. I'm just going off the top of my head. I think that's what the stats were. Uncle Will, my boy, my brother from another mother, had another touchdown, his third touchdown of the season. He seems to have some really good chemistry with Geno. I mean, Russ never threw to tight ends anyways, which is always funny that they traded for Jimmy Graham because Russ didn't use tight ends because he couldn't see them. And
even Jimmy Graham, who's like above the goalpost, he's so damn tall.
Yeah, Russ couldn't see him.
Nope.
Yeah, and I saw a thing on Twitter saying like, why do we think Geno Smith is playing so well so far this season? Which like it's only 4 games so far. It's still a pretty small sample size, but he's playing within the system. He's playing within the system that has been presented to him. He says, the coach has said, this is what we're running, run the plays, and he runs the plays. Whereas, the last few years, and this isn't a dig on Russell Wilson. I love Russell Wilson, but he really became a me guy these last few years where it's like, forget the system. I want an MVP award. And it was trying to do, his Russell magic. And I mean, I don't think ever Russ threw to the middle of the field. Very, very rarely. And like, it's like 4 or 3rd and 3. And you're like, why don't you just run like a slant route? And it's like, because Russ doesn't throw slants. It's like, he doesn't do that.
One.
Yeah. So yeah, no, Geno played great. Rashad Penny had, what did Rashad rush for? I want to say it was like, was it like I was gonna say like 132, 147, somewhere around there. Anyways,
yeah.
He busted off a couple big runs. He had a 41-yard touchdown. He had 2 touchdowns on the day, which I mean, I still lost in fantasy, but my fantasy team still appreciated it. So thank you, Rashad Penny, for that. They're offensively, the Seahawks so far this season, other than that 49ers game, offensively, the Seahawks have looked awesome this year. Geno's playing well. The offensive line is blocking like we've never seen before. I mean, Abe Lucas and Charles Cross is our bookend tackles for the next 10 years. We couldn't be luckier to have nailed those 2 draft picks this season. I mean, Charles Cross, ninth overall. It's hard to mess that up, but getting Abe Lucas where they got him and plugging him in at right tackle has been amazing. I would still like to see them move Damian Lewis back over to the right side. I still don't think he's comfortable on the left side. Maybe put Lewis back on the right side and put Phil Haynes in at left guard. I'm not really sure what the answer is there. Rashad Penny, this was kind of his breakout game. So hopefully he can keep it rolling. I know the Lions don't have, I think they have like the 2nd or 3rd worst run defense. So maybe not like the toughest challenge for Rashad this week. But like I said, I mean, sometimes you need those games to build your momentum and build your confidence. So hopefully that's what that was. DK Metcalf had a huge game. He had like 145 receiving yards, 7 receptions, almost pooped his pants on the sidelines. No big deal.
I saw that. I love when players just own up to these things. Like, yeah.
They announced it during the game. So he got sidelined, or he got carted off the sideline, and the announcers saw it. And so they went down to like the sideline reporter, and they're like, "Oh, Jen, like DK Metcalf got carted off to the locker room. Can you explain to us what happened?" And Jen goes, "Yeah, turns out he just needed to use the bathroom," and and the play-by-play guy starts laughing. He goes, "Oh, we didn't mean to embarrass anybody there." But the best part was DK tweeting a video of it saying like, "Yeah, I wasn't gonna make it just clench and walk in that whole way, or the clench walk wasn't gonna make it." It's just like we've all been there. I remember one time. This was when this was before we had kids. I don't even know if we were married yet. Actually, we had just moved into our house, I think, and we went out for Mexican food. This was my wife and I, with her family one night, and we were driving back home after dinner, and I looked at her. I was like, "We're in trouble." She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, if this light doesn't change pretty soon, I'm going to shit my pants in this car. and and like I said, I don't even think we were married yet. She's like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, like I am in big trouble right now. And like, you know where my house is, and this is we were at the lights where you teach.
Okay.
So that's how close I was to home. And I was like, if this light doesn't change within like the next 10 seconds, I'm not going to make it.
You are running this red light. If you want to stay seeing me, you cannot sit any longer at this light.
I was driving.
Oh.
I was driving. I don't
put on the hazards and just rolled through it.
I don't even think. Well, no, like on the you know you can't do that on like on like a side street. Sure, on the highway.
There's a lot of things you can do when you're in panic mode. Like when you're.
Man, I don't even think I parked the car properly that night. I think I like I didn't even pull into the garage. I just like pulled it in the driveway. I was like, "You got it from here," and I ran in the house.
The key's not working. The key's not working.
Thank God we don't lock the door to our garage.
Trying to punch in the code, like, oh, is it the kid's birthday with the dogs? Oh my gosh, let's go.
Oh, we don't have kids yet. Oh man, yeah. So hey,
here's the
TK. If I had someone that could have sideline carted me to a locker room, I definitely could have used it in that situation as well. So we've all been there in that situation where like this doesn't look good. So defensively, the Seahawks have a lot of holes.
Yes.
I don't know. Like I don't know what's going on there defensively. Someone asked Pete if it was how much they had to adjust and change the defense with Jamal Adams being out, and he said yeah, we've had to change a few things on the fly, and I'm just going to leave it at that. So obviously they had some big plans with how they're going to use Jamal Adams this year. Maybe they're going to use him more at linebacker or like have him in the box a little bit more this season, and have Ryan Neal or something like that play as the high safety along with Quandre Diggs. But like it's little things too that you never see from the Seahawks, at least not as long as Pete's been there, and that's missing tackles.
Yeah.
Like Cody Barton just full on like, I don't know, like maybe he thought he was playing tackle football. He like just put two hands on TJ Hawkinson and was like, okay, I got him. Got him, guys. We did it. High fives. Like meanwhile, Hawkinson keeps rolling down the field for an 81-yard reception, which by the way, I also said start TJ Hawkinson. I'm really good at fantasy football, guys. Just don't look at my roster. Don't look at my record. Don't look at my roster.
Imagine giving people advice to start a tight end one as the main receiving weapon on his team and not getting roasted on the show. How did you get away with that? By starting him, and we did not roast you everywhere for it.
Okay, hold on a sec. Hold on a second. Keep talking.
Okay, well, what I was going to say when you were like, oh, the Seahawks have a lot of holes to fill up. My question to you is, on paper, it looks bad when you have the Detroit Lions, who have been for the last little while abysmal. They're the number one scoring team in the National Football League. They lead in points per game, in total yards per game. Could it just be that the Lions have figured it out offensively? Like, I know they played the Seahawks. I remember they played the Eagles. I think the Commanders were in there, who I think have an underrated defense. I'm trying to think of who their other... the Vikings last week. Could it be that the Lions aren't actually... Like, are people underestimating them? Or do the Seahawks actually have that, like, abysmal of a defense?
No, the Lions are first of all, they're a lot better than their record shows, and I think like again, small sample size. We're only 4 games into the season here, but they've been impressing me so far this year. Yeah, they've been really impressing me. Okay, TJ Hawkinson did not put up double-digit points yet this season.
Small sample size. You just said okay.
He was on daily fantasy, he was a very inexpensive tight end. He's $4,600, which is cheap for a tight end for salary cap daily fantasy stuff. And then against Seattle, he busted out 32 points in a standard scoring league. So I don't
All
know.
I'm saying is this is not too far off of Ryan telling people that they need to start Najee Harris.
No, it's kid. I was no
I said
Ryan's
not
was
far
worse.
off.
The only reason I said the only reason I was like you have to get Hawkinson in your lineup, which I mean who wouldn't if you have Hawkinson on your team, is they didn't have DJ Chark, they didn't have Amon-Ra St. Brown. That was where my thought process was going, and Kyle Pitts just torched the Seahawks the week prior. So
yeah.
I mean, Kyle Pitts probably would have put up 180 yards against Seattle as well if Marcus Mariota could throw the ball better. But I will say one thing about the Seahawks defense. Tariq Woolen, my goodness, he is a freak. I don't know if you saw his pick six, but he was like a step behind, and then suddenly he was right in front of the receiver, grabbed the ball, and he is the second fastest player or recorded speed by a player this season, only second to Devin Duvernay. And he got a 40-yard pick six, and he got up to almost 22 miles per hour.
Whew. Holy moly.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, he's a guy who ran a 4.240. He's 6'4", runs a 4.240.
Yeah.
I mean, Seattle is I know Richard Sherman's been mentoring Tariq Woolen, which is kind of cool. Woolen was drafted in the same round. I think there's a 1 pick difference from where the Seahawks drafted Sherman to when the Seahawks drafted Tariq Woolen, which is kind of neat that like he's, as a rookie playing this well, he's getting mentored by Sherman. And yeah, I mean, he got his first interception last week against Atlanta, and now this week he gets his first pick six. The future looks bright with him and Kobe Bryant for sure.
Yeah, couple good corners to restock the tool shed.
Yeah, and Seahawks won, guys. We're 2-2. We're 500. Hey, we're tied for first place in our division, which I mean is good and bad. There's some people on Seahawks Twitter being like, we should not focus on a quarterback next year. We need to like focus on linebacker and edge rush. And I'm like, you have 2 first-round draft picks. Shut the hell up. They're drafting a quarterback next year, and I don't care what you say or what you think about it. I mean, if they can just somehow like get a high enough draft pick that they can get a quarterback that they want and an edge rusher without having to trade up to get the quarterback that they want, using those 2 first-round picks as collateral, I would love to see that. But I don't know. I mean, they keep playing so well that maybe that won't happen.
So, as good as Geno is, he is not the future of that team.
No, I mean, he's a 31-year-old quarterback, or 31, I think.
And we know Drew Lock is not the future of that team because guess what? He would have beaten out a over 30-year-old Geno Smith to take that starting role had he have been that good of a quarterback. So it's very interesting. Our 2 teams are quite similar this year, and we definitely didn't see that trajectory coming. Your whole division is 2-2, right? They're tied for first. The Ravens also sport a 2-2 record, and just 3 of the 4 teams also sport a 2-2 record. So 2 divisions that over the last 10 years have been probably 2 of the toughest divisions in all of football. Now maybe are looking like they aren't the toughest, or right, because I don't think there's been a ton of division games other than obviously the Monday Night Football that just ended. Not a ton of division stuff going on quite yet, so it's very interesting to see both of those divisions 500 or worse, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the Ravens.
Okay, I got one more thing to add. Then that's cool. I'll keep talking about the Seahawks. That's cool, man.
Give me some time to breathe right now.
Pete Carroll was on the Sock and Brock radio show today, and they were asking Pete because Pete Carroll is the worst with the challenge flag. Like someone should just take it away from him and be like, Pete, no. because like he just wasted. I was like, oh yeah, Pete's throwing a challenge flag when he shouldn't. There goes a timeout. So, anyways, he was on the Brock and Sock radio show today, and he just found out. He says, "Yeah, I don't care." He's like, I do not care about those timeouts or those challenges at all. He's like, I just think just gives us a bit of a competitive advantage, and it's just competing. And he's like, threw in yesterday on that fake punt that they got us on. He's like, I didn't even see a replay. I just wanted to throw it, so I threw it.
Oh, good Lord. He's like officially in senile. You know what?
No, but he's been like that his entire time in Seattle with the challenge flag. So like now it all makes sense. Pete doesn't care about timeouts.
He doesn't even look at the replays. He's like, no, don't show me. Like, I throw it when I want to throw it. Okay.
I just wanted to throw it just because I can.
Man.
I'm just gonna throw it.
Oh man.
Always compete.
Well, I feel better about my coach's decisions, I suppose. So, the Ravens, in typical 2022 Ravens fashion, have let another big lead dissipate in the final seconds of the play. A guy that I follow on Twitter, Jonas Schaefer, he tweeted out, the Ravens have trailed for just 14 seconds of the 120 minutes they've played in Baltimore this season. And yet they're 0-2 at home. How do you lead for 121 minutes plus some change and only trail for 14 seconds and lose 2 home games? It's baffling. I don't even know where to begin, but I can't close it out. It's true. That's what leading for most of the game and then letting it go in the last couple seconds would be. Captain Obvious with the comment there on Facebook, sorry. One good positive thing, there was a press conference scheduled for today, and Ravens Twitter is losing their damn minds. John Harbaugh's getting fired. This person is leaving. Oh, the world's falling down. Sound familiar from last year? Oh, because it is. Everything is like epic collapse. Turns out Jimmy Smith just wanted to hold a press conference to retire as a Baltimore Ravens player, essentially. You play to win the game. You play to win the game. You do play to win the game, Ryan. It's mind-boggling, as Chris has up on the ticker here. Great graphics. This is new to season 2. We have a ticker going on our live stream here. So
well, I get paid the big bucks, folks.
But I was super excited for that. Jimmy Smith was one of my personal favorite Ravens. I remember when they drafted him, we needed cornerback. I can't even talk. Cornerback depth, and they went and got him in the first round. He showed Pro Bowl potential. The injury bug kind of took his career over for most of it, but I was super happy. They sent him off as a Raven, and that's one positive news. As for the game, I was telling you earlier that I literally just finished watching it now a couple hours ago. I was out hunting all weekend. I too looked at the score, maybe a little prematurely there. I was debating whether I was going to try and avoid my phone until I got back and then watched it. And then I realized, well, once you get back, you're just going to want to go to bed. So someone's going to spoil it for you. You might as well just see. I was cooking up a little brunch at our camp there, and I was like, I'm just going to look. Oh, look, it's 20-3. Wow. And at first I was like, oh, are the Ravens getting like their asses kicked again? Or no, they're actually winning a game. This is exciting. There's only 4 minutes left in the first half. Like, what a perfect first half. Next time I look, they'd given up a late touchdown at the end of the half. But you know what? They're still winning 20-10. I would say for most of that first half, the defense was absolutely lights out. They had some big turnovers on Josh Allen. They also had a lot of almost turnovers. And I know almost doesn't count for anything in this league, but it was raining pretty decently. And there was a couple times where it kind of classic bounces off the DB's hands or defender's hands. Classic DB fashion. They would be wide receivers if they had better hands. So anyway, the game seems to be going well. Clearly, the game did not end as well as what it started. I don't even know what to think of this team anymore, because one week it's Tua throwing for like 10,000 yards on them. And I'm sorry, I know we were just talking about Tua and concussion stuff. I don't think he's that great of a quarterback. He's having like a breakout start to his year, but I do not think, and I said this on our fantasy football show with the boys, I don't think Tua is as good as what this first sample space is showing. So that's their defense sometimes. And then their defense against the Buffalo Bills, who I think are a top 3 offense. They are a powerhouse. They held this team in check basically the whole game. Like, we're talking about Josh Allen ended with under 250 yards, only 1 passing touchdown. They intercepted him. He ended up finishing the day with quite a few running yards, but they held Singletary. They held Moss. They didn't let Stephon Diggs have a big breakout game. They held guys like Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis had 1 catch in the whole game. Like, this is a defense who came to play this game, and then the offense just couldn't match that same type of thing. They start off super strong, but then like things like abandoning the run when they should, or being predictable in the way they run, or Rashad Bateman having his worst game of the year, Mark Andrews getting targeted, but not being able to capitalize on those things. Like, Buffalo's defense came to play for sure, but it was just like a tale of 2 different Ravens teams. And I was thinking about, like, what is the difference in this whole thing? And it just seems like when Lamar isn't unbelievable plus some, their offense just stalls right out. Like, I think he ended the day under 150 yards passing, got picked off a couple times. He was 20 for 29 in his passing still. So it's not like he wasn't accurate in his passes. He rushed for almost 100 yards again. It just seems like this team is, and I know you want to focus it. If he's your franchise guy, you want to center your team on him. But when he isn't like otherworld kind of player, they seem to struggle out. And the one thing I definitely noticed, and I think it was Charles Davis that was on the broadcast that I was listening to. He was pointing out exactly where they were going to run. Jeez. I think it was in the first half. He was like, and you're going to want to watch number 42, Pat Ricard here. Wherever he goes, the run always follows him. Sure enough, it's like they have Ricard, say, on like the strong side. They motion him over to the weak side, and then the run just follows him. Like, they didn't try and get creative in countering or like using Lamar for some RPO stuff to, go out to the side so Dobbins could go the other way and follow Ricard. Like, they just seemed so predictable that whenever Ricard was on the field, you're going to follow him. And you, as a rule of thumb, you should follow your fullback, especially if you have a Pro Bowl fullback. But when it's that predictable and your line is not establishing that line of scrimmage and getting pushed back, you have to try something else. The last one that everybody's been talking about, and then I'll get off the soapbox here because I'm trying to move on. I'm trying to move on to week 5, to the Bengals. It's a Sunday night game too, so I'll be sitting around watching. There was some criticism of Coach Harbaugh for going for the 7 points in the fourth quarter instead of kicking the field goal. Right? So the game is tied 20-20, and the Ravens were on, I should have written it down, but in my defense, I didn't. I think they were on the 2-yard line. J.K. Dobbins rushes the ball and loses some yards. And then they decide to go for it on 4th down because at this point, there's only 4 minutes left. And they're thinking to themselves, well, if we only get 3, 4 minutes is too long for Josh Allen to drive down the field and score the 7 because of how good their offense is. So they go for it, and Lamar is intercepted in the end zone. So to make matters worse, they don't put up points, and they don't put Buffalo on their 2-yard line. Steve, we get it. No, you don't, because you probably didn't watch the game. So you're going to listen to me, Ryan. You're going to listen to me, and you will like it, to quote you earlier.
Or you have to do push-ups, and he might pop your head off.
Too much, Chris.
Make you listen, Ryan.
So anyways, he gets intercepted. So Buffalo starts at the 25-yard line. They end up marching the ball down and get in field goal range. And at this point, they're so deep in the Ravens territory that everyone's like, oh, we're going to lose the game. So Harbaugh tries to tell the defense to let them score. The classic, let them score, we'll get the ball back, we'll have a chance. Instead of a chip shot to end the game with no time left, we want to give Lamar the ball back. And I guess not everybody on the defense was on the same page, which is a little unfortunate. So second-year edge rusher Odafe Owe comes flying around the side, and he goes for the big punch out and doesn't get it. Singletary holds on and drops him. And the people on defense are doing this, being like, hey, we've been told, like, we're letting him score. The replay that Owe puts on his Instagram, I think, shows how freakishly close he was to popping that ball out. And okay, if your coach is telling you, like, you're just going to let them score, I guess, you know, in hindsight, you should do what your coach is telling you to do. But if he makes that miracle play, everyone is now putting the hero card on him, saying, oh my gosh, like, yes, this is what we want in a player. So, like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, no matter what. And so that drains the clock even further. And they kick the time with no time remaining and end the game. And I guess I haven't looked into what the reports were, but Marcus Peters was losing his damn mind, and John Harbaugh was also like screaming back at him. And I think the presser had Harbs, and he said, you know, I love that guy. He's a competitor. I love that guy. I hope he still loves me. I know I love him. And I just thought, like, I don't know what was said, but I will always like players who show passion like that, because it means so much to him and he just wants to win, that he's not afraid to voice his opinion to the coach. And clearly Harbs respects him enough to also you know, get into that altercation because they're both competitors. So that was the game. 2-2, just like your team, tied for first, just like your team. We got the Bengals, big division game, and man, I hope they smash them. Can't stand the Bengals right now.
What do you think of the Bengals white helmets that they were wearing last week?
So I think
by last week, I mean yesterday.
Yeah, in our group chat, I think we were talking about this, and I don't like them. I know everybody says how great they are, and oh, they're so hot, and oh, it's such a good look, and like blah 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 blah. I thought they looked better in pictures, like as a uniform, and then you're playing on the field with them, and there's just something that looks weird about them. Like I don't know that. And they're the Bengals, so they suck anyways.
It is weird. Like, I mean, the Bengals are known for their orange helmets, right? So it is weird from that aspect. Like, I get it from like an aesthetic purpose of like white jerseys, white pants, white helmet. Like, I get it from Yeah, like it's the white bangle. Like I get it from that aspect. But
Cancer.
it is I don't know. It was okay. However, the black helmets that the Saints were wearing this weekend were
Oh, I missed it.
super dope. Yeah,
Oh,
they were super rad.
now
The
I
Commanders alternate jerseys suck. They're terrible.
which ones are those?
They're black. They kind of look like they're the Steelers because they're black with yellow numbers.
Okay.
And for some reason, on the name bar, they decided to put like the name and then like there's a yellow line above and below the name. They're bad.
So did the Saints have white jerseys with the black helmets?
Yeah, they were wearing like their white jerseys, black helmets, black pants.
Okay. I don't know. They're okay. I'm a real big fan of the All Blacks. Like, if the Ravens could
New Zealand?
permanently make their uniforms, those all black uniforms, there's just something intimidating about them. Like the All Blacks just look so mean, so like yeah, just intimidating. It's awesome. Yeah.
All gold.
All gold. Yeah, I mean the Saints could pull it off. There's a team out there that should be
I meant
all
the
gold.
Ravens.
Because gold is such a like prominent color pattern in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Not really, but okay. I guess so.
Or whatever that color is. I don't know. Is it gold? Yellow?
There is gold, but there I wouldn't say it's a prominent color in
Yeah.
their
Well,
color
it's
pattern.
time to make it prominent, Steve.
Time to make it prominent. Yeah, we're at our hour mark. We did it, Chris. We did an episode.
It's like
of
we've been doing this whole time
this whole entire time.
on another show or something. Hey, so
Which-
I had an idea for maybe a new fun segment,
Okay.
and maybe
Let's
we can look
tease
at
it right now.
maybe we could get it sponsored later down the road. If you want to sponsor it, or if you, hey,
Ooh.
just reach out to us. But maybe we could introduce like player of the game, player of the day, player of the game, however you want to look at it. Like, who on the Ravens impressed you this week? Who do you want to give your I don't know, your game ball, your championship belt, or your how teams hand out, like, you don't see it so much in football, but hockey teams do, where it's like, here's the hard hat player of the game, or like a fire
Well, I
hat.
mean, baseball literally gives out game balls.
I know the Canucks last year did a championship belt. So for your Ravens, the very first Ball Hawks player of the game.
Oh, you're gonna put me on the spot like
Yeah,
this,
I
eh?
am. I'm putting you on the spot.
Putting me on the spot. I've got a couple people in mind. I mean, I want to give it to J.K. Dobbins for having 2 big touchdowns and helping me dominate my fantasy football week. Super awesome to see. I'm actually going to give it to somebody who I thought just solidified the defense, because the defense has kind of been a problem. So, yeah, you know what? I will. Marcus Williams. So they just got him from the Saints. Big free agent acquisition. He just seems to be like every game, he just seems to be all over the field, breaking up passes, kind of giving us that rangy ball hawk on the back end that we haven't had since Ed Reed. And if anybody knows anything about me, Ed Reed is my all-time favorite Raven. So just having that presence back there was just really nice to see. Not just last game, but pretty much this whole season. Marcus Williams, I got to give honorable mention to Marcus Peters. Like I said before, pairing him opposite Marlon Humphrey just gives us that big 2 corners, kind of like what you were talking about with the Seahawks. And I just love having him around. Yeah. Who gets the Seahawks first game ball of season 2?
I am tempted to to award it to whoever was driving the sideline cart to get DK to the bathroom. maybe
that
maybe
hero was not wearing a
yeah.
cape. Man, was that a hero?
Yeah, maybe the bathroom attendant that had to like go clean up after DK destroyed.
That's funny.
Like pretty tempting, but I think it has to be a no brainer. We got to go with the rookie. Got to go with the kid. Giving it to Tariq Woolen with his first career pick six. I mean, there's still some bumps in the road with Tariq, some rookie mistakes that we're seeing, but you know that's okay, and that's, I mean, like we were talking about earlier with, you know, me going to the gym and me still being sore. It's like there's only one way to get better and one way to improve, and that's to just do it, and that's to put yourself in those situations and learn and get better, and that's just what's going to happen with Woolen. I see, you know, more interceptions, more pick sixes in his future. You know, he's going to become that shutdown, that lockdown cornerback that we hadn't seen in Seattle since Richard Sherman, where quarterbacks are just going to avoid Tariq and avoid his side of the field. Hell, who knows? He might even become, you know, Pete's always avoided it, but maybe Tariq becomes that guy that starts to travel with number one wide receivers, and wherever they are, he is, because he's got the size, the length, the speed to keep up with them. So first game ball of season 2 goes out to Tariq the Freak Woolen.
Is that what you just nicknamed him, or is that what
I saw you know, swirling around on Twitter a little bit. He's okay. I don't know. He's not Javon Curse, right? Like, Javon Curse is the freak.
Wow.
Because I'm old.
Seahawks legend Javon Curse.
What? We're not talking about the same guy, obviously.
Sorry, I know which Curse you're talking about.
You know, yeah, not Jermaine Curse.
Right. Sorry, I thought you were talking about that Seahawks legend.
Like Javon Curse played for the Titans, played for the Eagles. Yeah.
I know you're talking about now.
Yeah, because we're old, Steve. We're old.
Well, this has been fun. We're gonna do this regularly again. This is going to be a regular thing. Maybe not on Mondays. We haven't really decided. We might do some Sunday nights. We might do some Mondays.
We're gonna do what works for our schedule.
Yeah. If you're following us on the Twitter machine at ballhawks_pod, you will be able to see when we're going to be posting or going live, and come join us. Come join the fun. Chris, it might be season 2, but I'm still giving you the final words of the episode. What you got?
Thank you again, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Ball Hawks Podcast. We hope you guys missed us like we missed doing this. You know, we have a lot of fun doing this. So we hope you guys enjoyed it and tune in. Be sure to give us a follow, like Steve just said, at ballhawks_pod over on Twitter. That's where we're the most active. Steve is on Twitter at ssfisher87. You can find me at phillipschris12. If you guys don't get sick of hearing us on our podcast, be sure to check out That Helps No One Fantasy Cast. We go live every Tuesday night with our boys Ryan and Ted from the PP1 podcast. And guess what, guys? That Helps No One Fantasy Cast is not just a live show anymore. It's a podcast too. So you guys can check that out, where we give some pretty okay fantasy football advice, but it's not good. It's not great. It's right at that okay level. But we have a lot of fun doing that show as well. As always, guys, actually, you know, maybe I'm going to change it up this year. Hey, Seahawks country, let's ride. Seahawks country, let's ride. Just kidding, guys. Go Hawks.